Vaush, I'm sick of people acting like weed is so harmless. I used it habitually to deal with the stress of transitioning, and it fucked up my thought process so bad that it culminated in me spending time in the psych ward. 4 months of inpatient, outpatient. Yeah, it's pretty. There are like when I talk about drugs, I tend to talk about weed most because people cope the hardest on weed. But like, there are so many negative. Like, first of all, smoking a bunch of weed costs a lot of money, obviously. And a lot of you do not have money to be spending. I see those white names. Second of all, time that you are spending high is time you're not spending improving your life, for the most part. Like, you can, but there are a lot of things you've been putting off. I bet a lot of people watching this right now have a lot of work in the house and stuff they've been trying to do, cleaning up around the place or fixing a thing or whatever. Like, it is so much easier to not do that stuff when you're high. Do some people get high then do that stuff? Sure, though I question why you had to get high to do that. But look, the idea that stoners are lazy, not exactly like a fucking revolutionary Vaushite thought or whatever. Sorry, I'm not pulling that one from nowhere. Obviously, stoners are lazy. That is the thing being high makes you be. Fuck, man. I actually feel like one of the best speeches on marijuana use came from fucking South Park, of all places. What was the thing the dad said? Where, like, weed doesn't really hurt you that much, but sometimes it makes you okay with not being better, and that's the hurt that it does? I thought that was an unusually good take for a libertarian-leaning show, considering how libertarians feel about weed. Because I think that's about as true as it gets, really. It's not that smoking weed will, like, make you go murder babies or whatever. It's just that there's a lot of, like, subtle things in your life that kind of blur away, and you're left with, I guess, a weaker position from which to improve yourself if it's something that you depend on habitually. Not if you just smoke weed once, again, because I know everyone's going to leap at this and be like, wow, you're saying that if you smoke weed once, your life is over? But it is something to be concerned with. Also, my personal experience knowing a fuck ton of gay and queer people influences this, because I know a lot of, like, traumatized, like, a lot of them are sexual assault victims or whatever, but they smoke a fuck ton of weed to try to, like, fucking push the feelings away, or, like, just get through life numb, and they never deal with their problems, like, ever. You know, it's like a cope thing, yeah, but like the actual definition of cope, and they never actually fix the problems. They don't, like, they don't do anything about it. They never, like, make any effort to address the underlying psychological harm. They just self-medicate, and that doesn't fix the issue. It just sort of blurs away the, you know, like, it doesn't fix it. You might as well be putting concealer on a fucking open wound. It's it doesn't work, you know, and that shit bothers me. Yes, do not put makeup on a wound. That's a bad idea. It's like if you broke your foot and just took pain meds and kept walking on it rather than getting a cast. Yeah, exactly. You can take pain meds when you break your foot, but you're supposed to take them in conjunction with a cast and other stuff that actually heals it. If you're only taking the pain meds, you never fix it, and you'll always need them because you've never set the fucking bone proper. Or maybe it sets in the wrong position, you know? Don't want that either. Yeah, to a large extent, the radical dino. What if coping is all someone can really do? I don't believe that's the case ever. I literally never think that's actually true. That would only be the case if you were, like, locked in fucking Guantanamo Bay and your your fucking execution date is in 1 month and there's no hope of escape, and they gave you a bunch of fucking fentanyl or whatever. Like, okay, dude, whatever. but I don't think that's the case. You know, you're wrong. No, I'm not. I will never enable any, like, line of thinking from the depressive fucks in my community and elsewhere where they want someone else to validate their preconceived belief that there's nothing they can do. That's incel shit. The idea that, like, no, you don't understand, I really am fucked. Bro, even if you are, delusionally believing you're not is literally better outcome-wise. You can't see the future. You have no idea what it actually holds. You never know if something's 100% or 0%. In fact, very rarely is anything actually 100 or 0%. Proceeding with the assumption that you can improve things is mathematically a superior method of improving your life to assuming that nothing can be done and you lie down and rot, you know? And that hurts. A lot of people want to take refuge in the doomerism, to think, like, I've hurt so much trying to make things better, so maybe I should stop trying, at least then I won't have to struggle. But unfortunately, life is a struggle. That is the whole point of living, and that is the reason why we're alive. That's what we were born to do. That's what we're going to die doing. there's no escaping it really except through death. But if you don't want to die, and none of you actually want to die, by the way, everyone who attempts suicide immediately afterwards, they're like, no, wait, like you jump off the bridge and you're 2 feet off the plane you just jumped from, and everyone's like, no, no, no. Like, you biochemically, you don't want to die, okay? Unless you're like fucking terminally ill in your 50s, you know, that's just, that's probably not the direction you want to go in. Do you have any idea how unreliable brain chemistry is? I bet you a significant portion of the people in chat right now have at some point in their life thought that they wanted to die because they looked at the floor of their bedroom and it was messy. Do you have any idea how bad our brains are at sorting out thoughts? You've thought that. I know you. You have. You've looked at some easily solvable problem and thought, fuck, I wish I was just dead. No, you don't. But if you smoked weed right then, you would be able to find the hidden third option, not solve the problem and not deal with the suicidal ideation. Congratulations, you know, weed has given you the opportunity to do something that you otherwise couldn't do, cope and avoid. So that's why I don't like it, you know? You'd feel a lot better if you just did your damn homework, cleaned up the fucking floor, fix up your house, make your room, make your bed. Video games can do this too? Yes, they can. I do think there's something fundamentally different about the way weed or whatever other chemical alters your brain state. But yeah, any form of coping or escapism can potentially do this. That being said, and hey, remember what I've said about slop games? Weed definitionally numbs. That is the thing it does. That's why it gets prescribed for pain management. It does that. Video games don't necessarily numb. Some do. Slop games, gotcha games, whatever else, you know? They just like, time just fades away. You don't do anything especially interesting, but it holds your attention. A lot of good video games don't do that, you know? Lots of good video games that don't do that at all. So that's one of the reasons I go on about that too. Numbing mechanisms, you know? As much of your life as possible should be spent not numb. You know, you as a living thing, your whole body and brain are instruments sensitively tuned to life. You know, you should spend your life that way, even if it's painful sometimes. Being a sensitive instrument is sometimes painful. That is what it means. But that is also all it means. That's all of life. That's the entirety of life that we get. Sensitivity to things that happen to us. You know, you can numb all of it, good or bad, and fix nothing. Or you can deal with it. Sorry, I'm getting self-righteous at this point. You know, not to say I don't have my own issues with these problems, but you know, that's why. That's why I get up on this. You know, is gooning allowed? Yeah, sure, gooning is allowed. I think this is also one of the reasons why I find weed a lot more depressing to think about than alcohol. Certainly, there are lots of people who are alcoholics and they just drink a lot and they just numb it through alcohol and blah blah. That is certainly a thing that happens. But in my personal experience, my day-to-day, I have known very few people who have numbed pain with alcohol. Usually, they've just gotten loud and annoying at parties. Now, this is entirely a personal experience thing. Again, this is not like a broader ruling on the drug itself. But I've also known a lot of people who have just done the whole like numb the pain bullshit with weed. So the feeling that I get from it is that there are a lot of people who do that without even really knowing about it, you know? How many opportunities do you miss by being high all the time? Like how many like friends could you have made or things you could have improved in your house or in your life or whatever? You know, it's like that with a lot of things. Like, oh, you spent all that time playing video games. What else could you have done? Sure. So don't spend your entire life playing video games, right? You know, do other things as well. I've made plenty of friends through smoking. I'll just ban. This is a heartfelt rant, okay? You have to think. You have to think. When I say, how many friends could you have made or things could you have done through not doing this thing? You have to think in your head. Is he saying that it's impossible to make friends while high? Or possibly, maybe, if I could not be a retard for a moment, could I think that he's maybe making the point that there are life opportunities that pass you by if you spend your life in a deliberately numbed state? It says, please, just, oh my God, that shit really bothers me. Bro, offline chat argued about weed for over 2 hours. You know, the statement, weed users overreact when told that they're addicts is such a great statement because it proves itself right if you say it around weed addicts, you know? It's fantastic. It's undefeatable because they just immediately leap to prove you right. Which is, I appreciate.